Hi guys, welcome to the second lesson in my collection. Here too, I'm going to be telling you about some basic mistakes that you can avoid while speaking in English and some very basic tips and suggestions. Again, I have taken a reference from the comments that you've posted in my video, and I would be focusing on those aspects here. Again, a brief intro about myself. I am working at Femina and I enjoy teaching English here at Unacademy. And here are my other interests. You can just take a look at it or skip, whatever. My basic aim here with this lesson is to address some queries and some questions that you have asked. But before I go, I just want, a lot of people have asked me to teach this in Hindi too. I would just like to share that, when I was learning a different language, for instance, when I was learning French, my professors taught me only in French. We were not allowed to speak in English or Hindi or any other language. And over time, we picked it up. So I would suggest that try to speak in English. It's okay if you're making some mistakes. You always know where you feel you're saying something wrong. So focus on those things, look it up, search for it, and you probably might be able to find the answer. But try to replace, whatever you're thinking of in Hindi with English. I will speak a bit in Hindi wherever I think it's necessary, but the videos shall continue to be in English. So my first part of the lesson today is can versus may. Okay, this is a debate that has been going on since very long. Now, technically, can is something that applies to ability. Okay, for instance, can I come in? When you ask your teacher in class, okay, can I come in? You would never have asked something like this. Why? Because you would have always said, "Ma'am, may I come in?" That is because you're seeking her permission. It's a sign of respect that we know you can come in the class. You have two legs. You can walk. You can come in, but you're just asking for her permission. That is why may is preferred over can. Now. In spoken English, a lot of times may and can are used interchangeably. In fact, my next slide should be able to help you with it. This is basically for asking permission, okay? So we can use can, we can use may, we can use could, and we can use do you mind. I'll come to do you mind later. Let's take a look at can versus may again over here. Now, can I borrow your pen? If you're sitting with your friend and you're just studying something and just say, hey, can I borrow your pen? This is something that you can, and you will most probably take your friend's pen, but it's just something that you're asking for the heck of asking. This is just a formality that you're asking him for. Can I borrow your pen? And you would just quickly take it. You don't give him the chance to say yes or no or whatever. So if instead you use may I borrow your pen, it becomes more formal or polite. So hey, may I borrow your pen? And also your tone, for instance, may I borrow your pen versus can I borrow your pen? So may is more formal, it's more polite, and may basically represents permission. Also, you can use could I borrow your pen here. So let's say if you have to rank it, can is where you're just asking, for formality's sake. Could I borrow your pen? So if you ask somebody, hey, could I borrow your pen? Now you leave a greater scope with the other person to say no here. It's a possibility that he may say, no, I'm sorry, I need to use it. So could gives the other person a chance to probably just say no to you. May again becomes polite, the politest actually of the lot. Then if you come to do you mind, after do you mind, you have to use if. Okay, so do you mind if I borrow your pen? So here you're thinking that you're going to cause a great deal of inconvenience to the person if you ask for his or her pen, whereas that may not be the case, but you're just trying to be extra polite and you're trying to be nice here, and you're just saying, do you mind if I borrow your pen? And sure, yeah, you may. And if somebody is very weird and they don't want to give you your pen for some odd reason, then they'll just say, no, I'm sorry, I mind. So I hope that is not a case. But yeah, do you mind basically means that you are being polite and you are just assuming that you would cause a lot of inconvenience to the other person by asking this. Always follow if is always used after do you mind, so make sure that you use if. Do you mind if I borrow your pen? Do you mind if I sit here? So these would be the cases. Next is or and to be used after kind of, sort of, type of, or variety of. Okay, let's say you're watching my lesson right now and then you're sitting with your friend and you say, I don't know what sort of an educator Rima is. This is wrong. Whenever you use kind of, sort of, type of, or variety of, you never use an article. You never use or an after these phrases. What kind of a lesson are you looking for? I don't like that sort of a man. all the articles are redundant here. You cannot use it. Let's try to translate this in Hindi. Okay. I don't know what sort of an educator Rima is. मुझे नहीं पता रीमा किस प्रकार की एक educator है. So this ek, which an represents that ek, which is not needed here. So you can just say, I don't know what sort of an educator Rima is, to be replaced by, I don't know what sort of educator Rima is. Even though it starts with an E, that is a vowel sound, and you'll say you need to use an. No, you do not need to use an. You just say, I don't know what sort of educator Rima is. I don't like that sort of man, not that sort of a man. What kind of lesson are you looking for? So a lot of people make these mistakes, but make sure you do not use an article after kind of, sort of, type of, or variety of. Now the could, would, should debate, which a lot of people have asked me for. I'll just make this a little quick for you to understand. Now, let's say there was this lesson and you say, I should have seen that lesson. Okay, now this is representing a possibility in the past. For instance, I made this lesson and you tell your friend that, yaar, mujhe ye lesson dekhna chahiye tha. I should have seen that lesson. Matlab, something that you should have done in the past, but you did not do. So if you remove the should in the sentence, and it becomes, I have seen that lesson. Matlab, you could have seen the lesson, but you did not. So should basically is used when you could have done something in the past, but you did not do it. Instead of should, if we come to could, I could have seen that lesson. So here it means that you wanted to see the lesson, but you chose not to see it. So this was your own choice. You wanted to see the lesson, but you could not. So that is why you say, I could have seen that lesson. मैं देख सकता था, पर मैंने देखा नहीं because of my own choice. Instead of could, if we use would here, would basically means that you wanted to see the lesson, but it was beyond your ability or your control to see the lesson. For instance, you wanted to see the lesson, but you really could not. Now here the example that I've used is, I would have seen that lesson, comma, if I hadn't gone for a movie. Maybe you were forced by your parents or whatever to go for the movie. That's why you could not see the lesson. But yeah, would basically means that something was beyond your control. So let's say tomorrow, if you're going for your class, okay, and you had to submit your homework, but you were not able to, and your teacher calls you that, hey, where is your homework? And you tell her that, I could have done my homework, ma'am, but this happened. Your teacher is going to bash you because here it means that you could have, but you chose not to do it. Instead, if you say, I would have done my homework, but this happened. So I would basically means that this was beyond your control to do it, and that's why you could not. Likewise, could can also basically, that could is the past tense of can. So could also is used to talk about abilities in the past. For instance, when I was young, I could write, let's say, 5 poems in 1 hour. Okay, so I could is used to represent your abilities in the past. Here you cannot say, when I was young, I would write 5 poems in 1 hour. No, that would be wrong to use. Could is used to talk about your past abilities. A would instead is used to speak about imaginary situations. For instance, if I have $1 million, I would travel the world. It can also be shortened to say, if I have $1 million, I'd travel the world. So you abbreviate or you shorten would by writing this as I'd. Again, a very common mistake that people make is they use to after could, would, should. So I could to run for an hour straight as a kid, or we should to order a biryani tonight, or I would to travel the world if I had money. That is wrong. You're not supposed to be using to after any of could, would, or should. So guys, I hope this was useful for you, and come to think of it, it's very, very basic to replace any of these. But if you have this technical bit covered, then I think it's easier for you to speak in English. Also, I was asked for the name of the book that I had referred to. So when I was studying, I used to refer to this book called Word Power Made Easy. I will tell you the exact author and get back to you on that in my next lesson. But that is a helpful book. But more than anything else, I think what would really help you with your spoken English is if you practice every day. So starting from this lesson, I'm going to give you a tip towards the end of each lesson that should help you with your spoken English. Today's tip is that you should stand in front of the mirror for, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes a day and speak to yourself in English. Let's say you're interviewing your own self. Ask yourself a question in English. Answer that question in English. So it's okay if you make mistakes. You would know where the mistakes are. Google those mistakes, look it up, and try to improve it. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Do let me know if you have any feedback in your comments.